Hi, welcome back to Now TV Canada at I Am Just On YouTube channel. I am your host, Jen. And every day I wake up while I'm still remaining in this world, I never know where to start or what to do. It becomes so overwhelming. So first of all, I'd like to say that love one another is always key in answering this. I have spent my life invested between these two organized religions, putting together honest information about the history of the life of Joseph Smith, researching film videos, and following God's message pulse for me in what he wants me know and understand about Joseph Smith and the time in the world that he lived in and what came later with the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. And that I've sat here as a victim like all these other people that are homeless, sick, poor, and in need, suffering great carnage on a daily basis in this country over these small details. Well, it's exhausting that these men have not figured out how to sit down together and pray and speak in peace with each other. So I was inspired to make this video and address it to Donald Trump, King Charles, President OAKS, and the JW headquarters about power struggles, about cameras, about newsrooms, about podiums, about journalists and newspapers and biases. But as long as you guys keep doing that within just that context, you're never going to get anywhere. The people that are in need the most are not watching you. They don't have the money to be flying around on airplanes, having special guards taking them across the borders, avoid walking down streets. They don't care how rich you are. They don't care how popular you are. They don't care about the hands you shake, what you're saying or doing with each other around business that doesn't help them, that isn't helping anybody, that won't help do anything. You're just exacerbating the problem and creating ways for the evil sources of power and energy to continue its dominion over us, over the world, while we wait for the second coming of Jesus Christ, while we wait for the great God Jehovah to do his part with Jesus Christ. Now, I am not perfect. I am a human being. I am trying to be. I am trying to get out of Canada alive. I'm trying to get my children out alive. I'm trying to get it across to people how successful I actually should be already, and how bad it is when the news and the radio stations and the journalists are fine-tuning and picking what they want to share for their pocketbooks, for their benefits, for the view they want the world to see what's going on. This is a binder that has both the Smallville reunion movie, book 1, finished and ready to publish and produce as an animated cartoon, or even do a theater stage. It has Donald Trump in it. And I have sent copy of the Smallville reunion movie book to the Prime Minister of British Columbia, and I said, don't pull a Justin. Because I tried seeing Justin twice in the 10 years he was in office. And it didn't work. That Prime Minister, I don't know who received that copy of the Smallville reunion movie, didn't read it and didn't talk about it. And the people in Canada are still dropping dead like flies. We're still dying. The economy is crashing and falling apart because there are more people dying than being born. And you guys are talking in the news and shaking hands and standing together in pictures about a bridge between Canada and the US where you can let in more criminals, where there can be more access to more crimes continuing to be committed. Instead of helping me make movies, instead of helping me build up my company, a Christian organized company, where I can save lives, Hire people, give them work, help people who are in need in places where they can sleep for 2 years as their first step to recovery, and not have to worry about their struggles on a daily need, on a daily basis for survival, because they'll have their showers, clean clothes, and food met. All of the shelters in Canada, almost everywhere, practice a basic formula where they throw everyone out very early in the morning. Some places will send them someplace else warm where they can provide breakfast. And I mean, literally, sometimes it is just peanut butter and jam on toast, some coffee, no orange juice, no apple juice. If you're lucky, maybe you'll have a hot bowl of oatmeal. They'll throw out fresh pans of scrambled eggs right in front of starving people because of the FDA policies, when there's actually nothing wrong with those eggs. 50% of the food waste in our stores in Canada goes in the garbage on a daily basis. So I'm not sure how America and Canada thinks that's being friends. I don't need any of their incoming process of out-based products when this country is already too small and the population's already too low to require that much extra stuff coming in from anywhere, including China. You're just going to make this place a junkyard, a garbage dump. All this refuse building up, all the stuff that people have earned money from making already from the sales they've already earned, and all the extra product that they have, there's nowhere to go. So they ship it someplace and then they write it off because it doesn't matter what happens, just like the Amazon system and the packages that come and go. President OAKS, I'm the writer of multiple movies, and I'm actively trying to be a productive member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and all the while just trying to correct details about scriptural history that were misunderstood and misquoted and then rewritten to be miscomprehended because of the timeline of Joseph Smith's life. Because at that time, there was no benefit of New World Translation books. There was no American Standard Bible that was not published until 1901, during the same reign that Wilford Woodrow was president, who never received the book because the two sides refused to sit down and talk to each other over pride. And President OAKS, I'm appealing to you specifically because I like you more. I believe in you more. I believe in the quorum more. I believe in the setup that Jesus put into place 200 years ago with God's direction. At the end of the Dark Ages, when God was seeing that the souls of many were of great worth to him, and he desperately wanted to do something to save as many lives as he could. But I'm going to testify to the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses' failings, downfalls, but I'm also going to connect the downfalls that live between both. You do not provide bus passenger services from all of these shelters and homeless places where these kids are outside on the street scrambling for how they're going to get by just for today, to take them to meetings. You do not provide recovery or treatment centers where people can practice Bible studies in small portions where they can feel safe and comfortable and not be overwhelmed by what they're being taught or shared, in order to be able to digest and then answer a few questions, come back and then participate in another session as they grow and learn. The problem with most of these kids out here that are suffering is the lack of instruction. There's no direction. How is God supposed to raise his children if there are no leaders helping him do that? God can teach his own, but you got to have these people that are in these places that are supposed to understand their responsibility, working together to be accountable for what is necessary to do the job that God would like to do if we would do our part right. So I'm going to say to all of you here, sometimes you really shouldn't send a man to do a woman's job. All the power and all the answers do not always lie in men that wear suits and ties that stand at podiums in front of cameras or in newsrooms, on airplane tops of stairs waving. Donald, I sent Highway of Tears t-shirts to Obama when he was in office, him and his wife, when I was still in my 30s. Those Highway of Tears t-shirts were never given to Obama and his wife. I challenge you, Donald Trump, to go into the mailroom. I tell you to tell them to go tear the building apart till you find those two t-shirts, because I will not be mailing any more Highway of Tears t-shirts to the White House. There's just no point in me mailing at my expense any of these movies or any of these binders anywhere else to anybody if there's just going to be constant games with people's lives. I can help people. But we need to stop talking about pipelines and shaking hands about bridges that are not building bridges, but destroying lives by putting that stuff into place. I wanted to talk about visions. I wanted to sort of explain Joseph Smith history, where he was calling upon God the Father as Jehovah. And in the Bible, where I mentioned Isaiah 12:2, where he's calling upon Jehovah. I think I mentioned this before. Oh, I'm using the wrong book. Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid, for the Lord Jehovah is my strength and my song. He also is become my salvation. Joseph Smith was simply trying to find the truth. He was trying to reach the true God and understand the knowledge of the two personages and the first vision he had as best as he could. There was a vision from Martin Harris early on where God, Jehovah, told Martin that he would not be a part of the blessing of the fruit of that tree, but that Joseph Smith's generation, that Wilford Woodrow's time frame would. And that prophecy came true when this American Standard Bible was finally released by the International Bible Students Union, which was a group of people God brought together from other folds of the Trinity, because there is that declaration of the 7 churches where God puts that magic through the Holy Spirit in place and pulls out people that will obey during that time. But the minute this book was done, what do you think the devil did? He created contention and strife and chaos, right? So now there was pride and people broke apart and fell away. And in that time, the Church of Jesus Christ, the Latter-day Saints, had already established a beautiful arranged setup to the church. And they were not part of this, the International Bible Students Union gathering. And they should have been. And there was no reason why they couldn't have been together at this point to have fixed everything for two sides where there would not need to be a fight, there would be a peace. So what I'm saying is neither one of you are going to be able to use your material to help the people that I'm struggling to save, that I'm a part of statistically, as long as you're at odds with each other, contention over what's needing to be done. The answer is to love one another. You cannot be biased on who you decide is worth ignoring. Let's see if I can find it. I have so much in my head. I'm going to go with what was in here in my epic mail. Just give me a second. A lot of the scriptures are already in the description below. So if I don't get around to sharing what I'd like, it's okay. Starred. Here. I want to read this. Why a growing number of Canadians are leaving country for good and what's driving them away. So no matter what Mark Carney does, it's not going to work. Because you guys are not getting to the root of the problem, which is the death toll in this country. Today, Mark Carney is heading to Munich for a security conference, while I woke up to 10 dead, including suspect after school shooting incident. I think he just doesn't want to get shot. He wants to live. Right? All of you guys that are up there in your political positions with all your education and money, you don't want to die, so you keep moving around, hoping that somehow some other answer would come. Now, hang on a second. I'm still trying to click on this. I can't read it. Okay. I'm not going to mention names, but somebody left Canada to move to Florida with their partner, their husband, start a boat business down there because they couldn't survive here. And their revenue grew by 50%. The most common theme I hear among people who want to leave Canada is that they're not confident in the direction that the country is heading. Noting that she's heard this feedback from Canadians, she's helped move as part of her consulting business, as well as expats she's met in Florida. It's a broader trend that begun to show up in official data, where it's listing approximately 120,000 people emigrating. So we're leaving 120,000 people of Canadians with money, most of the rich ones, because that's all can afford to leave, to pay taxes, to relocate. Between September 2024 and September 2025. Following other similar trends, some 94,576 people emigrated from Canada from mid-2022 to mid-2023, an increase of 1.8% from 92,876 in the year earlier period, and up sharply from 66,627 in the period from mid-2020 to mid-2021, which fell during the pandemic lockdowns, according to data from Stats Canada. Canada's overall population went down by 0.2% between July 1st to October 1st of last year. Slight population increases in the first quarter of 2025 were driven entirely by immigrants coming into Canada, as deaths outnumbered births during that period. However, growing immigration numbers are hard to fully analyze, according to several leading experts, because they do not break down the composition of who is leaving and why. Unlike various European nations, Canada does not track details on immigration, including demographic data. I don't think I need to read between the lines for us to understand what's going on with the businesses, who's buying them, and the people getting the money, who are taking the money and running to other places and rebuilding in new locations away from the problem that's growing here, based on who's coming here and buying out the businesses and taking over the economy, which isn't actually building an economy, it's destroying one. But we don't want to buy, eat, wear, and to be entertained by any of the stuff that's now being replaced from a culture and a country we were familiar with and knew that was once called our home. Or the disassociation of all the poor and the sick. My challenge is for King Charles in relocating as many people who want to leave Canada as possible that fall into the category of the high risk, the most vulnerable people in this country. So there's no more people for the evil to kill. There's no more weak and sick. There's no more people for the bad people to make money off of getting rid of, so they can fill that place in this stream of population and space with their own ideologies, own plans, own ideas. We are not dispensable. We can't just be disposed of and thrown away. Nobody can override God. Nobody could try to justify making decisions and doing things without acknowledging or accepting that there is one, or that we need one to help us with all that we do. And I'm going to go today and hopefully get permission from some of the people I go eat with at the 507 in Ottawa about where they want to go and move to, if they can move anywhere. I can't even suggest if people suggest, oh, I'd like to go to live in the States in Florida, because if they have no health coverage, if it's a country that's only based on profit only, then they're not going to any place any better. Maybe the streets are safer because there's bigger space for them to roam, and it's not riddled with blocks and miles of paraphernalia in drugstores or corner store windows, and that all those buildings aren't owned by people from other countries that practice complete opposite things that God instilled in our land from the Bible. People who are not going to care what happens to anybody that's coming and going from their businesses for the impulse shopping that they spend the most amount of money on because it's the closest place they can go to get the needs they need for that day. In other parts of Canada, we don't allow people to ride transit for free enough. BC is one of the only places where they understand that people need to get places and they're sick, and that if we're going to throw them out of shelters and not give them enough places to sleep in to get well, we have to at least let them travel. Ottawa has the most expensive bus pass in the country, and it's the worst transit system there is. The most breakdowns, the least reliable, and the least bus services, where you have the most amount of missed times for buses that never show up and people standing there for double the time in cold weather. Can't get anywhere on time. There's no reliability if you don't have a car. So then there's more cars out on the road, and then you have standstill traffic because people are choosing to take their vehicles. There's no point in spending more money for a worse service. There's no point in us spending money paying wages for people in uniforms that are taking from us and providing us less of what our tax dollars are paying them for. You're supposed to honor and respect and understand where you are, learn from that, accept this change and invitation to grow and learn, and find a way to acclimatize and adapt. Because if you're not going to, if you think you could just bring what you know and what you think and what you believe over here and just throw it in our faces while we're still paying you with our taxes, you can't stay. It's not okay. It's not acceptable. It's not welcome. And if I have to take all the good people, if I have to take all the sick, all the needy, all the ones I care about that matter to me out of this place and relocate them with King Charles' help, or any other nation that is willing to help relocate these people in order to stop this carnage, this bloodbath, and I'll do it that way. But I cannot be sending stuff out in the mail or walking around outside all day long or standing outside in the snow thinking that all of this material at one person at a time level missionary work is somehow going to make a difference for the rate of death that is occurring on a daily basis in this country. I'm not even finished accruing, adding up the number of all the lost lives of the 10 years in Justin Trudeau's time. Right? Never mind the ongoing stuff that continues to come into my newsfeed, rather than trying to find something positive to talk about where there's not a conflict spiritually, like the pipeline and bridge. That's a spiritual conflict because you're just increasing crime. You're just adding more access and open doors to other people from other countries to come here to try and do business that only causes more death to our own people. Which point the answer is to stop everything, shut it down. You know what you need to do? You need to stop the airplanes. Don't let any more people coming from other places into this place. Don't let them leave their own. You drop bomb tons of this stuff. What can the Bible teach us? You drop bomb the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, and Pearl of Great Price. You drop bomb the Holy Bible, the King James Version that Joseph Smith wrote. You drop bomb the Holy Bible of the American Standard Version into those countries. And you let them sit there and you weep, gnashing of teeth, until they sit and read, until the tears falling down their eyes in understanding who they are in the history since the beginning of time. That until they learn to repent, until they learn to understand, until they learn to recognize that they need to change, there needs to be changed before you can go anywhere else to grow. Sacrificing lives, ending lives, taking lives is not good for any economy anywhere. It's not going to help your health care or lower your taxes or expenses of any kind. You don't use a person up and drive them into the ground, having them work as long as possible and give them as little as possible in that lifetime. And then not let them be able to enjoy what they have the right for at the end of their work time when it's time to retire. That retirement money belongs to the people who've earned it in the process of that life. And King Charles and the Commonwealth system never intended to try to wipe people out to take that money away for themselves. So you can see there's an invisible force behind in thought process, thinking about how can I get all that money? And where can I put it to help benefit other pockets of ideals and beliefs and support those and make it grow? So I'm working on trying to get into meetings with any of you willing to meet with me on how you can let me do what I was born to do in a place that belongs to me based on how much what I have to offer is worth. I wanted to start a program called Caring About People Everywhere, where I offer the housing that goes with the Bible stuff and the mixed material between the only two places God and Jesus need to help save the lives of these many lives whose lives matter the most, who've been neglected the longest. People are not going to change if you don't provide them the means to do so. I'm going to read my resume. I'm going to end this video on my resume. I will come back and do smaller pockets of the other stuff, but all of the scriptures, a majority of stuff is there in the in the description below. I'm going to look for the documents. Okay. All right. So I'm going to eat at the 507 today because of my resume, because of my job skills, because I am capable of doing all of these things. But Mark Carney isn't helping. He's not responding to any messages that are sent to his office on his own volition. No one in Parliament is responding to messages that are coming in from people outside with job skills like mine, with resumes like mine for employment positions like flying around the earth with my security license and passport on airplanes with people to keep people safe. I could be given one contract and I would be busy saving lives just under the basis of that security contract. I think that's beneficial for everyone. And ignoring emails and videos that are coming out every day with positive information for helping people in the name of love isn't going to solve that I'm here and that I have this to offer. My resume, it's big. You see all those skills? Certifications, provincial peer support worker training. I'm not going to give all the dates because it's not necessary. Housing as a human right, peer support. OFA level 1, which is a British Columbia thing, just a different form of first aid. Reliance healthcare training, a long list of certifications from how to bed clean people, shower, clothes. BC assisted living recovery house training certificate. I got a ton of HSABC BC training for dealing with all sorts of walks of life and crisis shelters. Respite and autism certification and training. Mental health first aid certificate. Naloxone training. Swim instructor and emergency first aid instructor. RAP level 1 assist, which is the suicide intervention training. I don't need to say where I've worked. It's not necessary to go through all of the jobs, but I obviously worked and I've had jobs. And obviously at this point in my life experience across Canada and the fact that I am still alive and I'm making these videos means I've learned how to do something right. Summary of qualifications: flexible, dependable, conscientious, Works well as a member of a team or independently without supervision. Eager to learn new skills and broaden horizons in any given position. Multitask, establish priorities, and meet deadlines. Exercises initiative and assumes responsibility. Communicates effectively, orally and in writing, typing, and other forms of management, and 911 emergency procedures via phone, desktop, laptop. Now, I wanted to go a little step further, and I'm going to read. This is a recent security cover letter that I sent. I won't read who I sent it to. You will find my resume attached, but in that you won't find the extra bit of information that you need to know about my diverse experiences. So I have written you this cover letter. I have worked all over Canada and in just about every area of security there is, and also have companion respite and frontline experience as well. The diversity I have makes me suitable to employment in many areas. I have done access control, which is camera rooms, and psych ward security, which has broken my heart and brought me to tears, the things I've seen, as well as working for the downtown strips in major cities, dealing with shelters, the homeless, and their issues. First-hand drug addiction, mental health crisis, and more. I also bring a reliable peer support story of my own where I myself have had to struggle with homelessness, financial challenges, and other things, which has meant I've had to use the system and can therefore relate with much compassion and understanding to client issues and needs, and have the knowledge and information needed to successfully help others living through similar struggles find their way. All my hard work and training and first-hand life and work experiences has now resulted in my having extremely transferable job skills. Overall, I bring more than 20 plus years of experience working and living across Canada to whatever position I apply for. I have worked with such a diverse group of people and locations that I just can't list it all. And that I'm sitting here preparing to go to the 507 to interview people for free without a 2-week paycheck coming from anywhere, because nobody's responding to me for the contracts and the employment that I am skilled and qualified and should pretty much be the only person that work is offered to. Setting up a system so that the only way you can have a job is if you have a car to get to the position is not acceptable. You can't do that to people's lives. But if you don't own a house, if you don't have a mortgage, if you don't have a credit rating, if you don't have a credit card, if you don't have a car, then you're not a person under the law. You're not recognizable. How you get to work, as long as it's dependable, is a freedom of choice. It's private. It doesn't mean you're not reliable and can't do the job you're being hired for. And with the kind of traveling and the work I do, I shouldn't be driving around locally doing too much of any of that anyway, because the whole point of my work skills is to travel, to relocate people, to go with people safely places, to be unidentified for who I am and what I do, because you don't see me advertising it in everything I wear. I'm happy and pleased to say with confidence that with all of my extensive experience and being in my 50s, that seniority based on life experience, including successful motherhood, my kids are not out on the streets running around. They're not dead. One's trying to finish university, and the other one's finishing high school and good in music and part of the oldest teen tour band in Canada. So I'm doing something right. And maturity places me as a very useful part in adding me to your team of reliable sources of help and support for those you aid. I know how to carry myself around people, whether it's musicians, movie stars, politicians, or homeless people, aging peoples, or those with addictions, mental health, or physical challenges. I have many tickets like mental health, first aid assist, RAP level 1, and first aid, just to mention a few. And I have other complementary trainings such as my peer support and housing and human rights certificates. I have all of the HSABC courses you've heard me yap about already, completed along with many more things that I'm in pursuit of to add to all of that stuff. Okay, which comes with all those connecting challenges you are seeking to fill with the coming events of life, with the growth and success of our Canadian future, as if I was applying to work for some provincial leader or governing body member, which complements what you offer now already and what you continue to seek to provide, a plan in which I would be happy to be a part of. In closing, I invite you to contact me and look forward to further correspondence for an opportunity in an interview to further discuss my qualifications that would deem me suitable for employment as a security professional, support specialist, and leader part of your team. Sincerely, SO Jennifer Cooley, aka Superwoman, President and CEO of Future Productions, and so much more. So this is going out to all of you guys that this is addressed to, on the fact that time is running out when you just hear about 10 people being killed overnight from going to bed and waking up the next day after just talking about all the list of the dead that I've been collecting history on, and the releasing of people from prison who should never be let out of prison if they're going to be allowed to live till they're dead in a prison anyway. We need to look at bringing back the death sentence, or relocating people who should be on death row to places where they have the death sentence. We need to be looking at passing laws on things as tough as castration, making them eunuchs so they cannot do it again. We need to look at treatment and therapy for kids that are being raised to be abusers, kids abusing kids, because that's where my story starts. This is just some of the stuff. This is for pain. This bottle is empty. So say that our healthcare system is much better. I'm not. I don't have any of my medication. I have blood pressure medication that I need, my PTSD, my mood stabilizing medication. I haven't been off my stuff in years. This is the first time I've gone this long since the day I had $750 in my pocket and somebody asked me if I wanted to hit, and I said no, and I took that money and I got on a Greyhound bus and I went to Prince Rupert. Changed my life forever after that. So the point is, I can't be paying for these to be done at the pharmacy when we should have coverage that's automatic for people who have conditions where the medication is a medical requirement. So the bottom line is, we're not providing a system that's much better. And if we can't do that, then we need to look at what the answer is on to developing ways of turning back the problem, reversing damage, or renewing and rebuilding a new model of what works. But everything starts with the basis of what you believe in, who you follow, and what you are going to do with that information. And for me in my household, I serve God. God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, Jehovah God, and his son Jesus Christ, who is king over us. The Trinity is not the answer. If the Trinity was the truth, then it would be working. But that's not to say that the separation of the three is actually working, because they're not doing anything to make anything any better. That the Trinity has gotten involved in trying to help a little bit in doing that, without the true information missing from all of that information, will not make a complete difference in changing the lives of people. That God would be able to help if everybody was working together based on the key phrase of loving one another. Opening up shelters and then dumping everybody out on the streets, throwing them out early in the morning so they can work inside those buildings, get paid 2-week paychecks, and be undisturbed, like there's nothing wrong, that there's no problems and everything's fine. So they could go home at the end of the day when people come back in to sleep after 5 o'clock and have their dinner is not okay. That's the same as an empty service to empty buildings that don't get used, that just sit there, right? Opposite of God. But we're not going to help. We're going to serve ours without having people in the building, because that's what we do with all the empty buildings anyway, because that's what they stand there as a monument of. No idol worshiping is allowed in this country. Laws need to be reversed on marijuana. Drugs need to go back to being illegal, because that's why God did that. There is medicine in medications God sent to earth through plants, but you're not using it right. Finding the medicine and using the medicine for what it is for, with God's help, is fine. But 7-year-olds have the right to go out in public and walk down the street and not have to smell drugs, not have to see it. 12-year-olds have the right to go to school without being coerced by people standing by the fence yards at their schoolyards, coercing them to take some pills. This is not the mafia. They're not here killing our children and stringing them along the roads on trees. Right? It's just perpetual evil. You have to listen to this call of urgency and understand, to change the climate of all of this, that you need to take off your suits and ties. You need to get out there with first aid equipment, wash feet, put on ointment, new bandages, pray. Take people to your place, offer them a place to sleep, shower, clean clothes, open up buildings where you can put in cots that are empty, that are clean and safe enough for that. Let them sleep. Quit throwing what little they own in the world in the garbage. That's not a job. If I have to shut down Parliament and tell everybody to go home, that they don't have a job, that they can sit and wait until I've decided what I'm going to do with my economy, because I have done the work to have purchased this place, I'm princess of the provinces. I am your governor. That's all I was ever trying to be by getting my governor status through my World International Swimming accreditation in the first place. So I'm going to end this video here and telling you people how ridiculous it is that you keep talking about yourselves when you're not the ones writing this work, that have answers to helping the economy and saving lives, because they're my people. It's where I started from. I'm somebody who was lucky enough that was able to get out. In one of the documentaries I watched, there was a taxi cab driver, like literally the last female white taxi cab driver in Canada, of all the taxi cab drivers in the country, to be interviewed. As if to say there's white female taxi cab drivers and white men driving taxi cabs all over Canada still. There isn't. My dad used to be one. I drove cab. I don't take cabs now. Point is, trying to do business with only the people that have money isn't going to solve the problem for the entire economy, which includes the people that don't have money. Money is the root of all evil. Jesus doesn't need it. He didn't need it when he was on the earth with us. God doesn't need it. The Church of Jesus Christ, a lot of the saints, is like, what, the richest church in the world? They have so much money to access to creating programs, working with everyone, everywhere, to build a sustainable future that keeps the promises of the prophecies and the scriptures and all that work that Joseph Smith did and what he stands for, to actually result in something. But not for a minute do I want anybody to think that we are at world peace. This is not world peace. You need to stop killing people. In any country you're in, the murders, the crimes. Nobody has the right to declare or claim that they have the legal and authorized right to abuse their family members. You don't. The answer is no. And if you think like that, you shouldn't even be getting life in prison. And people are living all over the place with that attitude. Justin Trudeau was in office for 10 years and never knew that his dad fit into the category of that kind of mental frame of mind of abusers. The law to legally not be allowed to abuse your wife or your family did not change until the end of Justin's father's second term. Justin should have never run for prime minister if he didn't already know that beforehand, so he'd know why he was running for prime minister. To fix the history in his life as a child growing up in that home with his mom, running for his mother. And the woman that married him should have also known this, so she'd know the responsibility involved in marrying him. I mean, I can just go on with the knowledge that I have. But all you guys running around with your access to limousines and airplanes and freedom to travel, it's not going to do anything when all the answers are right here in what I'm doing from my kitchen, which, by the way, also provides amazing food if you would like to order something good and pay me. Another set of skills I have, because the food that's out there, it's no good. And I'm going to go see some of that today. I'm going to continue to do this and tell my true story. So I'm going to end this video here. I'll do my smaller scripture videos. I don't even know. I'm going to just end with the little section from the chapter 1 of Who is God? From What Can the Bible Teach Us? Because that's how I was taught when I was little. Little sections of the books in the Bible stories. Does God care about us, or is he cruel? Many people think that God doesn't care about us. They feel that if God really cared, the world would be very different. We see war, hatred, misery everywhere. People get sick, they suffer, and they die. Some wonder if God cares about us, why doesn't he stop all this suffering? Religious leaders sometimes make people believe that God is cruel. When something terrible happens, they say that it's God's will. They say that he wanted it to happen. When they say this, they are really blaming God. But the Bible teaches that God is never the source of evil. James 1:13 tells us that God does not test anyone with evil things. It says, when under trial, let no one say, I am being tried or tested. For with evil things, God cannot be tried, nor does he himself try anyone. This means that even though God hasn't stopped bad things from happening, he never makes them happen. A young man who lives at home with his parents, whose parents love them and they are dedicated to teaching them right and teaching them rules, and the kid doesn't listen to the rules and they run away. Are you going to blame the parents for what happened? No. Right? The person's going to leave home and have to make their own decisions. Like the father in the story parents, whatever, in general. God doesn't stop humans when they choose to rebel and do what is bad. So when something bad happens, we should remember that God didn't make it happen. It would be unfair to blame him that way. There is a very good reason why God has not yet stopped bad things from happening. In chapter 11 of this book, I don't need to read that part. Anyways, you can be sure that God loves us and that he is never to blame for our problems. In fact, he's the only one who can help solve them. That's why I just make these videos and don't go beyond the degree of stress that I can handle. Right? If I have to go eat at the 507 and talk with people and interview them about where in the world they'd like to go live, I will do that. And wait for whatever kind of work I can do to come my way. But I'm not going out and handing out 100 job resumes and waiting for 100 job interviews where it's only paying the person interviewing me to keep a job for themselves, to make themselves look busy, but not actually looking to hire anybody, because there's no job to hire anybody for. And if there is, it's just one person. I'm too old to go through that. I'm the boss. I'm the owner. I'm the one giving out the instructions. I'm the one with the information. I'm the one people should be seeking for that knowledge. Like the wise old woman, the judge in the history of the Bible. Was it Naomi? No. Anyways, I will deal with that on a different one. God is holy. Everything he does is pure, clean, and good, so we can trust him. Humans are not like that. They sometimes do wrong things, and even the most honest ruler does not have the power to repair all the damage the bad people do. This is for all of you. Donald, Mark, President Oakes, King Charles, none of you are capable of repairing all the damage. You do not have the answers in your positions of power. The Jehovah's Witnesses, none of you. He can as in God can, will repair all the damage that has been done by bad people. He alone will remove all evil forever. Read Psalm 37, 9 to 11. Now, I wanted to, it's probably easier if I look it up in here. Hang on. I got tons of scriptures. I'm going to close here. Where did I write it? Oh, I wrote it in the thingy. It was in Zephaniah. Hang on a second. It's just, I've got too much stuff up here. Yeah, Zephaniah. All right. That's not helping me. Okay. At the time I will search Jerusalem with lamps and punish those who are complacent, who are like wine left on dregs, who think the Lord will do either good or bad. When Abraham was saying peradventure to God about Sodom and Gomorrah, he was showing that he wasn't afraid to appeal to God's true personality about a sense of worth and value. I'm exhausted with the research and the life I've lived through and the suffering that it makes no sense that I would be put into the situation of and having it never come to an end and never getting any relief. And when I read the scripture that God does neither good nor bad, it was me thinking like Abraham about peradventure, where I'm asking God to come early, Jesus to come early, to intervene and get involved and change the course of life and action and what's going on down here, because by doing nothing, by just letting things transpire the way they are, with greater world of sinners with more money and power to continually exacerbate and hurt the weaker that die, it's not an answer. And I could see and understand this concept of God doing neither good or evil simply because he's super beautiful and a monster. Super beautiful monster, as in we should revere him and fear him and need to understand why, right? Why we have a stomach, right? The whole point of what he's doing is to test the righteous and the good, is to endure. And so basically that's what was done to me from the time I was 5, was just to remain faithful and true and endure. But the point is that endurance is just my life. It's literally just time. And I don't want to lose all of that time here in this country, watching other people younger than me not reach my age, who get even less benefit and achieve less success. When I was out there in my hard, heaviest times of the year, one of the clients, one of the guys from one of the gangs, I remember if he was Filipino, he looks at me dead serious and he showed his heart for the community of everyone. And he says to me, "You have what it takes to get out of here. You have what it takes to be something more than the rest of us. What are you doing here?" And I looked at him confused because I didn't see the difference. I was so genuine and my heart so true and real. I actually just thought, what do you mean? I'm one of us. I'm one of the community. I'm committed to our way of life. I'm part of all of this. I grew up with the same heinous backgrounds of stories of injustice and abuse where no arrests were ever done and nobody ever listened to my cries or my no. But now time's passed since the day I learned to say no again in a different direction with my life. I look back on it and I see what I've accomplished with a little girl who had no education. And I can see that if you're self-taught and you're still, as you stay focused and you have gifts and talents that God gives you, that you can still reach the impossible. You can climb like they did in the blue lantern. All the different colors, the green lantern, the blue, climb. And I could see the will and the wishes and the love from the community for me to be able to climb and be a voice for them to try and help make a change while there's still time to save lives. So that's what I aim to do with these videos that I keep making. When I finish this one, I'm going to send it to some people that can hopefully get this to people outside of this country, that could get me out of the country, to get me to meet with people where we can do something about this country. Because the 10 years of Justin doing this with his people, because that's what he was raised to be taught, now how you're supposed to do it. And that Mark Carney stepped in without a vote. I didn't even know who he was. No apologies here, gosh. Sorry, guy, but I don't know you. I didn't know your name and never heard of you until the day somebody popped it into the press. When I did a little research, I learned that you were just a business guy. So you're not really even a politician. You've never walked my streets. You've never lived amongst me or my people. You haven't been from one side or the other and seen the suffering. You don't know who serves me. You don't know who believes in my God and my Jesus, who hold on to the hope and faith of that second coming of Christ and a redemption and a renewal of their life. But I do. So no to the pipeline. And that bridge is not important. I'm not here to support more crime as a solution to building an economy that is actually destroying a country and leaving all the buildings empty, including new buildings with condos in it that nobody's moving into. 50,000 people died on overdoses of fentanyl in the 10 years Justin was in office. That's just one category of the crime I'm working on, trying to solve in my life and time history of whatever somebody might give me for all my work. But don't think for a second that I'm going to stop anything short while I'm still breathing and able to talk, making these videos and getting my message out there to try and make a difference. I should have been allowed to get to Utah and reach the president and Elder Holland with my movie work. There's no reason why I couldn't be making it with Christian industry there or have the church symbol in the publication of my work, because this is all family-oriented material, and it's all based under Christian company. Nothing's going to stop me from being that. There's no shaming that. I am who I am, and I like who I am, and I'm not going to change, and nobody can try to intimidate me or tell me I should change. There's no reason for me to change, and I'm not going to try and tell other people that they need to change. But if I wanted to visit other countries, I'd go to visit those countries in order to enjoy what is unique and different about those places. But when you come over here to try to thwart yourself and surround yourself around me because you're fascinated by my love, the light in my life and my heart, it's not going to encourage me to want to support your tourism and go see more of it. Because if I get enough of it already where I am, it's going to make me want to go find more places where I can get away from it and go back to living my life the way I like to live it. And that's not going to change. I am European by nature, and that's where my heart and soul cries for its way of life, the culture of the food, and the way I believe in households and families sitting around the table, eating the dinner table, talking a little bit about what happened at their day to day, praying from the and reading the Bible and reading from the dictionary, slowing things down, turning off television, spending time talking, laughing, playing board games, going for walks together, going outside to skate, not always just getting into the car and going somewhere in a hurry. It's okay to have a vehicle if you know where you're going and why you're using one. There was never anything wrong with horses, and there's nothing wrong with using horses now. There's all kinds of alternative fuels and other things that we could be doing to helping reduce the damages in our earth in order to have an earth to give to the future where God doesn't have to intervene on a larger expanse in saving lives with people on this earth because of the fact that he promised not to flood it again. So think about all of that, you guys. I'm going to go and work on my plans for the 507 thing and my little videos there. I'm going to come back and just do smaller scripture reading, just straight up scripture reading and smaller videos. But I wanted to get the the urgency of this across to everybody. I'm looking forward to meeting King Charles and having a Bible study with a man that's going to listen to me about all of the detailed information I have that is accurate, that explains everything about the world in the Old Testament, basically, quite simply, in the first section of this book only. Beyond that, it's just enhancement. It's all there. So I'll see you guys in a little bit with more information. I'm going to send this off. I'm going to pray it reaches people that can help me establish future productions and Cape Care and everything else I intend to do to help the people that matter the most in this place and in other places where my work and my programs can help to offer people opportunities for a renewed life and chances for recovery and healthcare and homes. Okay, bye. In the name of the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit, I end my words here with all of you. Amen. Stay warm, stay well, stay safe, and enjoy your time with your loved ones because you never know how much time you got. And above all, love one another. From Now TV Canada here in Gatineau, Quebec. Peace out. Superwoman signing out.